I'm out here working on the transfer case this time around. I've already got part of it broken down because I needed to identify some of these measurements here on these shafts because our Jeep came with the AX5 transmission, and this is an AX15 that I bought from a place called Dead Jeep. They're a Jeep junkyard, and the spline count is different. So, like I said, I had to get some measurements. Here is the spline, the input spline that came out of the AX5, which is on the ground right over here. And the count in here will not fit. And so I emailed back and forth. I bought this whole kit from Novak Adapt, and I emailed them a bunch of measurements of this, and in talking to them, they said it sounded like I needed this one. So this is the one we bought. And as you can see, it goes on there and this works. And also, everything about this looks the same between these two. And it fits in the planetary gear, the same as the old one. And all of the engagement and the contact looks the same, and it feels pretty good. So some of the measurements, let me get down here. These things are all over the place. So there are different variations even within same years, it seems like. So this one is just a touch taller. Let me take it off the plastic just in case. Yeah, it's just a touch taller. But the things that they were most interested in was this shoulder height and where the bearing sits, to determine if it was a late or an early style, and of course the number of splines that go in here to change. So pure visual matchup, it seems okay. The other things I bought from Novak was their NP231 Master Rebuild Kit. And it looks like it has, I guess, pretty much everything in here. We've got a new chain, actually came with a new magnet. This is one of the new inner bearings, the new screen for the oil pump, a whole bag of seals, a whole bag of, it even looks like the clips that go on everything, the plastic pieces for the selector forks. I didn't expect it to come with new rings and clips. I'm not sure what a couple pieces in here. It might be potentially for some other variations. We've got a big bearing with a new snap ring, another bearing, Permatex Black gasket maker. I'm not sure what this is yet. I bought the Novak shifter, which I haven't taken out yet, which is going to go with their new shifter kit. A couple more bearings, this gasket, I'm not sure where it goes yet, and some basic instructions here. So I've got to continue tearing down the cases, take out all the bearings, take out the selector mechanism here, take everything out, clean it up. Same over here, I've got to disassemble the housing here, get this part out, get the old chain out, get this shaft out. This guy didn't seem to be in too bad of shape. This chain slack seems okay. So I don't know if I had to go to this level of doing this, but because I had to tear a lot down to get into here, I figured why not go ahead and rebuild it and change all the seals, and then I'll know, without a doubt that this has been done and that it's kind of a 0 mile rebuild. All right, let's do a transfer case State of the Union update. I've got the whole case disassembled. So here's the inner guts, oil pump. Everything actually looks pretty clean. I have not cleaned any of this stuff. I've got most of the seals out, and I've got their replacements near where they go, like all this. I haven't gotten into the baggie of all the big snap rings and whatnot yet. I will replace those since it came with it. I mean, why not? And then I also discovered what this piece was. This goes in, I think it was the tail housing. So I was able to get the old one out, which don't know what you call it. Is it like a little burnished in there? So got it out. Going to replace it. I've got this kit here that's actually been perfect for almost every size so far. So yeah, got all of the part. Everything looks pretty good. Let's go over to the parts washer and take a look. All right, let me turn this off. It's gonna be time to empty this thing soon, and I bet the filter's clogged up because it's not working as well as it used to. But let's see. Yeah, here's the tail cone, and that silver piece goes in here, and it's also got a groove in the silver piece that goes in here, I assume for fluid to come through. So just kind of soaking this stuff right now. Here's another one of the housings. And then this side. So I was just letting this stuff sit over here while I was taking everything else apart. And I've got to get the other side of the housing in here. I'll get all this cleaned up, maybe pressure washed. But I'll definitely rinse all this off. Probably hit it with a pretty heavy duty scrub brush. Try and get as much of this junk off. Then I'll start cleaning all these mating surfaces where the RTV will eventually go all around here. And then where'd that other piece go? In here. So all this is aluminum, so I've got softer and brass scrub brushes. I'll probably be trying on that, or maybe even some green or red scrub pads. We are continuing to clean up. I've got a lot of the faces pretty nice, polished. Tried cleaning them by hand, and then I had these little brass wheels that I remembered, and they helped a ton. So I'll be spraying these down with some brake fluid before final assembly, or before the RTV, I guess. And then I forgot one more bearing in here that I was able to get out with a slide hammer puller, and fortunately in this Pittsburgh / Harbor Freight set, the largest size, when it's completely spread out, will fit on the bearing that goes in this hole, which I would show it if I could find it right now. But anyway, took a little bit of massaging to get that out of there, but not really too bad. It's nice to have tools that help on stuff like this. I think I've got the final dry fit done. So I've got the case together with a couple bolts. I've got this front housing. I have this one snap ring on here just so I can set the depth of this output shaft correctly. I have the front, it's not yoke, maybe it is. Anyway, I've got this on, it's not torqued down. Shifter, the two detents, the one with the spring here and the one for the vacuum system here are tightened down. And so I can row through all of the gears. Check this out. All right, got the camera set up there. Let's start at the top. Here is two-wheel drive with the shifter all the way up. So if I spin the rear, only the front is moving here. I hope the camera can pick that up. Let's go to 4 high. Now you can see to the front drive shaft and out of the transmission are both spinning. Go to neutral. Spinning the back and the front is not spinning. And conversely, I can spin the front and nothing else is spinning. And finally, there's 4 low. So I've got the front again spinning and the output to the front drive shaft. So definitely good. Definitely good to dry fit everything, because from what I have seen in my own experience and looking at a couple YouTube videos to help out on this thing, when you have this case set up on these bolts here and this is sitting up, this entire shaft likes to just slam down and it floats in here. It needs to move, and the only real way to dry fit it is to get this clip in here and kind of just get everything snug down. So I think I am ready for RTV and getting everything back together and almost being done with this. I've got some seals left over. They must not go to this kit. And then some of these rings probably didn't go to this particular transfer case. And I also did not rebuild the main shaft. And I know it had some of these in here. So nowhere that I know of these go. So I think I've just about got everything ready to go back together. We're almost done. I've got everything cleaned. I've got the RTV on all the surfaces. Everything is finger tight to maybe a little touch of the ratchet. Some of them were, I think the threads were a little bit dirty. But I've got almost everything back together. I'll get the speed sensor back in when I get everything torqued down in about an hour. The drain plugs, get the vacuum system, the other detent spring back here. Make sure this is torqued correctly. And I still got to torque this down. But I have rode through all the gears again after it's all together and finger tight, and I think we're good to go. So I'll come back out here and check on this in about an hour per the instructions. Well, I was feeling good about everything, and the last video, or the last clip, everything looked awesome. I was double checking some work, and as you see, I've got it back apart again because I forgot to install the oil pump, which goes here in this big hole. And I didn't even realize, because when I was putting it all together, it just didn't cross my mind. I had the oil pump over here out of the way. And so I took it apart, and now I've got to come back through here and clean up all the RTV and sealant that has dried and just do it again and make sure I've got this in here. So better to catch it now than later, obviously, being an important part of this thing. So let's get everything cleaned up and then get that back in there and get it reassembled again. Oh well, what can you do? Now that it's all said and done, I've got all the transfer case back together. I've got everything together now. The speed sensor, drain plug. I got the fill plug just sitting in here. Put the little identification plate back on. Double checked all the shifting again. Everything is good. I'm not going to attach it to the transmission yet. I've got the new bell housing and all that I've got to get. And then all the bolts for everything are still kind of on the old motor back over there. So I've got to see if all those will fit up. But I'm working on cleaning up a little bit because, you know, projects like this tend to make a huge mess. But what I am getting back into today, I'm going to go ahead and get all the brakes back together, get all this on, get the new steering linkage and the rest of the new tie rods put in. I counted how many times or how long, I'm sorry, not counted, I measured. When this thing came off, I measured end to end, and I've got those saved in a note. I'm going to see if I can duplicate that to all of these once I get it back together to try and get the alignment back as close as it was. And then get all that on there with the intention of getting the wheels back on, getting this back on down on the ground. It's been up for a couple months now. And then I think next is probably going to be cutting out the old motor mounts here, cleaning up the frame, and then start mocking up. Let's go over here. Mocking up the new Novak conversion mounts. So I got their kit. Came with these nice big bearings, adjustable for you want the motor to sit. New bolts. It came with instructions on where to put this. I'll have to dig those out and look. It's got a measurement, I want to say, from this tube here back, and I'm not going to say the number because I don't remember, but they have a recommendation. So I think getting those out, maybe getting the new ones tacked in, and then putting the new motor and the transmission and bell housing and transfer case together and stabbing this new motor in here and make sure everything comes out where I want it to. I'm probably going to follow the Novak guide pretty close because it's their kit. I'm using the motor they recommend. So probably do that. Just got to test fit it anyway. It's always good to test fit it, as we learned from the transfer case over there. So yeah, I'll keep cleaning up for a bit here and then start getting some suspension parts on. The shop cat. Out here with some new gear that will show off very soon. I've got all the steering together with a very, very rough alignment, using a level from the side here down to the outside flange of the hub. But I've got everything, all the ball joints are torqued and greased, and I've got their pins in them. Got all the steering in, got the sway bar, the track bar, everything up here torqued down to the pitman arm, all the way through and through, with the goal of getting the brakes on and the wheels on. But we ran into an issue. It appears that this caliper is dragging. It's not completely seized, but I cannot get it to go in any more than this, which means with the new pads and the new rotor, I cannot get it to go down over. It's too tight. So while I was messing with this one, had Benita over here in the cab with the brakes. I had a block of wood here. This one easily moves in and out. I could put a block of wood here and get this one to basically clamp down on it, and as soon as all the pressure is through the system and clamp down here, then that one will start to come out. So I think I said last video, I'm not rebuilding these brakes. I'm still not rebuilding these brakes. I'm going to see if I can find redone calipers, because I have built enough calipers in my life. I know what the inside looks like. Just see if I can find calipers to throw on here, make that nice and neat, and get it out of the way. But got to get it done, because that one's, I don't feel good about that. All right, check out these beauties. Local O'Reilly had these on the shelf in stock. Nice and rebuilt. All new hardware all the way around. Yeah, the problem I was having, now that these are clean, I can show it up close. I could not get this piston in right here, and so the depth that it was sticking out and about what I needed, it was 1/8 of an inch maybe. It's so close. So let me get the camera set up here, and let's get this passenger side on right here. Let's see how this works out. Little pause in here. I could not figure out how to get this back on. I was wondering if I had the wrong pads or caliper, but if I took everything out, the caliper would go in fine and the pads would fit. So you have to get this little piece right here. Here's one of the old ones. Actually, here's the other side. That little mouth on there, you have to line that up just right in here, and then the front of this can push forward and the top tabs will sit correctly there. But now that it's in there, it looks all nice and neat. I've got these down with a couple threads, so let me get this tightened down. Let me get this brake line back in here, and then we'll go to the other side. Calipers back on, wheels are back on. I think I've got everything cleaned out from underneath. We're ready to go back down to the ground. Didn't expect this thing to have up in the air that long, or be up in the air that long. But you know how these things go. Alrighty. Let's let it down. I've got to air up one of the back tires. That's been going flat since we've owned this Jeep. But there it's coming back down under its own weight, its own steering, own shocks. Pretty cool. I tried to get the alignment as close as I could. You know, back to the way it was. We'll take it to a shop after. So now that we've got some weight on it, let's go up here. Nice. I know we're hitting the bump stops because I did align it enough there. Looks like it's not hitting the sway bar. Put the wheels on. Let's just go double check everything. Looks pretty good. Clearances are good. Nice and shiny parts. All new joints, ball joints, tie rod ends. Let's go back the other way. So easy to steer with no weight on it. Also, one thing that is super nice, because all of the ball joints and every bearing and everything is freshly greased and new. There is no slop in the wheel. Super nice. Oh, let's see. Clearances look good. I think we're good. After all this, after all that we have been doing, I think we can finally get into these motor mounts. I'm recording this just before the Memorial Day weekend, so I think over this weekend we're going to try to get these cut out here so we can get, if you can see it, the transfer case, transmission, got to get the new bell housing on the transmission connected to the block, which is in the bag over here, and I would love to get this stuff in here, position where it's supposed to go, and mocked up per the Novak instructions. That's the goal, at least. If we can get that far and everything looks good, we'll take the motor back out and we will start rebuilding it. I bought a rebuild kit from the machinist, or the machine shop, and I think I have pretty much everything. I don't have all the sensors. I'm going to go ahead and replace those as we come across them. And then I'm going to try my hand at doing my own wire harness swap. The 3 or 4 wire, it's pretty common. We're not going to have air conditioning. We're not going to put in an automatic transmission, so it's pretty well documented across several places. And then there's a guy also on YouTube called You Can Do It Too, and he has great videos on the step-by-step process and explaining why, and printouts and diagrams. And so I've actually watched most of his stuff a couple times now. We'll probably end up watching it a third and kind of copying what he's doing, and just doing the same stuff. So we'll see how it goes.